2024. What the fuck happened?
Labour won an election. Finally. But James Cleverly managing to lose the Tory leadership by very cleverly having his supporters vote for somebody else rather than him, in the idea that they just tipped the balance so that he'd be up finally against Kemi Badenoch, and instead getting knocked out entirely. Cleverly.
Oh, did you see Bojo came out saying I'm a bit spectrumy, I think, because I don't have any empathy, essentially.
Yeah. If you're on the cunt spectrum, mate, that's the only fucking spectrum you're on. Being a psychopath is not the same as having a fucking autism. Fuck off. Do one.
I was like, as a member of the neurospace community,
I think you'll fucking offence. The problem is it's a classical fucking error that people make of you're a little bit cold, you're a little bit aloof, you're not very good around people, you're on the autistic spectrum, you're actually perceived as cold and unfeeling. It's not that, it's just that you're not very good at responding necessarily. As opposed to you're a shagging fucking cunt who left his wife when she had cancer for some fucking 25-year-old horse-faced cow.
You're a callous moron with a total disregard for human life.
Who can't even fucking remember not to come downstairs when you've got COVID and infect your entire fucking office. They have to barricade you into the fucking residency. Yeah.
And not even having the decency to identify as such and realise that maybe public service isn't the best place for people that are raging psychos. Just go to the private sector. At least you're over there doing damage, not here.
Where you're kind of wanted.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very weird. Tory party is just... I mean, I should say, they just sort of descended into sort of a knockoff UKIP shite bag.
Well, it's a sort of inevitable thing, isn't it? If your entire shtick is being unkind, over time you'll need more and more unkindness to get your hit. It's that dopamine thing again.
Yeah.
Current Conservative Party that is, I think they call themselves Labour, but let's be honest, Wes Streeton has just come out, was it yesterday, at time of recording, to announce that there will be an indefinite ban on puberty blockers for trans children, not cis children who already take it for precocious puberty. So based on solely on those characteristics of being trans, you will be denied puberty blockers against the weight of scientific and medical evidence, based solely on the CAS review, which has been torn apart by every other medical expert in the field because it was a political hack job.
Yeah. Are you saying the new Labour would go against all common sense and advice and the voice of the people to do something bad?
These aren't new Labour, these are new Labour.
These are Tories.
They haven't invaded a country yet, so they're not quite as bad as Tories' lot. But, it's all coming from the same place, isn't it, really?
Yeah, no, they're attacking the people of their own country.
I feel like I've been saying that Wes Streeting is the devil for years. I said a while back, he reminds me of John Sim when he plays the Master in Doctor Who. He's just, and he doesn't blink. I know I've talked about this before, but it's actually really horrible when you watch him because he'll not blink for ages and ages to the point where you're fucking blink, you weirdo. And then he'll do this rapid blink. It's like he's like an AI answer to what a human being should be. And he's got that fucking Thomas the Tank Engine face, completely sort of impassive, sort of slightly round with his little blue eyes.
Yes. Hersey's a transphobe.
Yes.
It's... I think that the negative response to his announcement has gone beyond the borders of our country. Because there's no, the weight of the medical and scientific evidence that does not support this. It is an entirely political move.
Yeah.
It is a callous, calculated move to win the support or continue receiving the support of the loudest bigots in the country. I'm not going to mention her name.
No, I know. But she's not fucking voting for him anyway. She's a fucking bought her away from joining Reform.
Do you think they're going to do well at the next election? It's kind of hard to tell because these guys always kind of poll quite well for a while.
it's
and then
really
they end up getting absolutely
I
nothing.
mean, the fact that they came in and one of the first public things that they did was take away the winter fuel payments for pensioners.
Oh, were you talking about
Hmm.
Reform or Labour?
Oh no, Labour, you talking about Reform?
Which stupid baddies are we actually talking about here?
Shower of bastards. Do we have any good options left?
I suspect the Reform bubble will burst a little bit. To be honest with you, I think that
It's just
probably.
reforge itself under a different name.
Well, yeah, that's
like
what they've
it's
done
done
already
over
with
the
the
last-
Brexit Party and UKIP and all the rest of
Yeah.
it. But I mean,
There has been a surge across like Europe of these kind of weird right wing parties actually doing quite well, but obviously the electoral system in Westminster kind of stops them from doing as well as they might do normally. Not that I'm advocating that that's a good system or anything.
No, I think you need proportional representation. Then you need one of the problems is that when you have a system like first past the post that so obviously disenfranchises vast amounts of the population, it almost leads to the sort of disenfranchisement and disillusionment that results every now and again in surges for absolute fucking lunatics. You're much better to have proportional representation and have a constant state of slightly fucking turgid, disparate groups having to agree to each other to get anything done, because people get used to that. We're used to these great big swings towards one or the other.
Or in the case of the last election, tiny.
No, I just
yeah, nothing.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of strategic voting that resulted in a tub thumping Labour majority because people were fed up.
A majority of those who voted, not a majority of the country.
No, absolutely. But it was people made a decision to. People were voting tactically to make sure that the Tories didn't get in, and it worked, and that's fine as far as it goes. But the winter fuel payments one is the one where I just go, to paraphrase your mate, are you on crack? What were you fucking thinking of? Like, a group that votes really, really strongly, pensioners, you immediately chose to basically just euthanize a whole load of them over a winter? What were you fucking thinking of? If you get everybody...
by the next election, so...
Well, I suppose there's that. If you get everybody that should be on pension credit, they get their pension credit and they get their winter fuel payment, you wipe out the benefit of doing the thing financially. So all you've got at best is bad press and no economic benefit, and at worst you get a load of you get dead pensioners. Every fucking pensioner that's found with a gas fire off and an icicle on her nose is going to be the front page of the Mail.
On that note, I was quite taken by the sort of the inheritance tax thing as well, which is similar but different to this. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm in the wrong here, but I get the sort of why inheritance tax might be necessary, etc., etc. But I mean, to piss off the farmers was a bit of a weird choice, wasn't it? I mean, you don't let people in charge of your food production to be, fucking up in arms or threaten to go on strike.
It's one of these things that,
for God's sake,
if this had been done better, this is the problem. So what strikes me about Keir Starmer is that he's quite high-handed. He's obviously used, as perhaps when he was a barrister in a KC, he's obviously used to kind of being in charge and being quite autocratic. That seems to be like what I hear people say of him is he's actually a really nice bloke, but he is just really, really ruthless. Like when it comes to the job, as it were. Which is fine as far as it goes, but that makes you a really, really bad politician if you can't actually judge how things are going to be viewed and you're not used to that much scrutiny. I think it goes back to the criminal justice system. He was perhaps used to not a great deal of scrutiny about decisions that might be necessary but seem to be quite ruthless. So the farmers thing, if you had reached out to the farmers and said to them, isn't it terrible that wealthy billionaires are buying up farmland and pushing you off your farms just to avoid inheritance tax? What would you suggest we do about that? Could you have some sort of consultation via the National Farmers Union so that we can agree on something that means that you guys get to get more farmland back and get to keep your farms going and don't get bought out by billionaires who are just doing it to fucking fleece the government? You'd have not only A, got a load of tax, B, solved the problem of the billionaires, and potentially got a load of Tory voting fucking gun owners to vote Labour at the next election. you also wouldn't have had the bad press. Instead, you've got tractors on Downing Street and everybody's going, why are you pissing off the farmers?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just bad politics. It's just really, really bad PR.
With Rachel Reeves,
Oh.
I asked before the election, well before the election, I was like, is she evil or is she completely incompetent? And then it has subsequently come out that she has completely lied on her CE. She'd said that she was an economist for HBOS, and the people that she worked with were like, oh, she worked in like customer service.
Really?
Yeah, she was she worked in like customer relations. She was not an economist. And her story about like how long she was an economist for changes all the time as well. She's never been it's just lies, just made up. Her entire CV is just lies. So I was like, oh, that makes sense because
Does she not have a degree in
really-
economics?
I don't know what her degree's in, but she's never worked as an economist. Because I was like, is she a Tory shill when she was talking about the national debt as if it's a credit card, which is a Tory.
Oh, no, that drives me fucking nuts as well.
It's
Look,
not
you
it's
can
propaganda.
print money. You can make a decision about how much money is in
Mhm.
circulation. It just doesn't work that way. And it's an absolute fucking atrocity that we keep talking about it in these terms. A household can't print money.
Yeah.
Well, they can.
No
they can't
actual economists worth their salt talked about the national debt in the way that Rachel Reeves has been. It was a Tory propaganda. It's Tory propaganda that she has accepted whole cloth and run with. And I was like, is she a secret Tory or does she not know what she's talking about? And I think she doesn't know what she's talking about. Or maybe it's a bit of both. But I think coming in and immediately stripping pensioners of their winter fuel payments, like, do you think your job is to reduce the national debt? Your job as politicians is to be popular. Your job is to be well liked. You're doing the opposite of the only job you have. The only job you have is to be well liked enough to be elected into power and to keep the fucking Tories out. And you're doing the opposite of that. It's just immediately, because people won't forget this. You think people have short memories in politics, and they often do, but it was the first thing that you did. The first thing you did. People remember the first and last thing you did. It was the first thing you did. People are still talking about it.
Yeah,
People will
especially
talk
as
about
we've
it at
had
the
a
next election.
really brutal cold autumn.
Yes.
And there are, already, I have smart meters, so I get to fucking see how much gas we burn. And there's been days when it's cost like for my little house, it's been like £8 a day just for gas. And I've got a well-insulated little house. For some people, that will be enormous. If it was electricity, if I had electric heating, the same amount would be costing something like £25 a day to keep the house warm. So you just wouldn't be keeping the house warm because nobody can fucking afford that, right? It's absolutely mental. It's just really, really bad politics. And this thing you say, you've got one job, which is to get yourself re-elected. In between times, what you're meant to do is run the country well for the benefit of the citizens.
I think
Why have we forgotten this?
You need to get taxis. I know that you probably all have drivers now because you're all in power. Get taxis. Speak to if you want to know what the general public think about the policies that you're proposing and enforcing.
Talk to taxi drivers.
Talk to taxi drivers. I got a taxi last week. The taxi driver was talking about winter fuel payments. This is what people are angry. People like if you. Look, the Tories have been in power for like 20 years. We just got them out, and you're beefing it.
So, I mean, it's not that there isn't an argument against, there is an argument to be made that really, really rich people don't need the winter fuel payments fine. But we're back to the same argument that we have about child benefit and basic, universal basic income, which is that the fucking cost of administering, working it out, and the people who fall through the cracks and suffer does not, it's just better. Pay everybody and tax on the hard end, tax rich people a little bit more and just have a whole load less arseache.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. And just lead and explain to people.
I wonder if they kind of overestimated how popular they were after that election, because people voted for them because they felt they had to get the Tories out. There's very few people I think were really enthusiastic about it. I can't wait to vote for Keir Starmer.
Yeah, the media presentation of like the Starmer storm, and it's like 1997 all over again, and we're all thinking we were alive in 1997. It's not 1997. It's a majority, as you say, but in the context of a massively low election turnout. Jeremy Corbyn got more votes than Keir Starmer did.
Yeah.
You did not win. Your opponent lost.
Yes, within the kind of Westminster media dipshit bubble, they're probably thinking, "Wow, we're over, brother. We're all that in a bag of chips." But
He's got a mandate from the public.
Oh, he's got a mandate from the 4 nations, including Northern Ireland, where they didn't stand a candidate. Dickhead.
I think it's also that, and this happens with governments and it happens with a lot of people where it's like, okay, now you're in the position. Now the real work starts. You've done the easy bits getting in. Now the real work starts. I think, they seem to have shown right out of the gates that they have not comprehended that and immediately fallen on their arse in very open goal situations. These do not feel like very difficult things.
And I was a grown adult during the early years of the sort of Tony Blair, Gordon Brown as Chancellor. And they came in and they immediately did great stuff. They brought in minimum wage and they brought in child tax credits, which immediately almost, prior to that, I think I was earning something like £3 an hour. This is in like 1996. The minimum wage came in at something like £4.60. I want to say something, which doesn't seem very much now, but 30 years ago it was a fair whack of money. Compared to what a lot of people were. You got security guards that were getting paid £1 an hour, and they wondered why security guards were always the inside man on burglaries. You can work out that.
Yeah.
It's a fucking mystery, isn't it? You've got people working 120 hours a fucking week in order to... I mean, I had a pal that was working as a security guard. He got paid so little he used to sleep on the job, and he got sacked when they found his sleeping bag and alarm clock. But he had to do 2 jobs. So he had to sleep on one of them. If you see what I mean, because he was working so many hours. So there was an understanding there. We need to be seen to be doing some stuff. We've all got our issues in the independence movement with Gordon Brown, but he was still, without a shadow of a doubt, Gordon Brown is the best prime minister that any of us have seen in our lifetimes.
John Prescott just died not long before we started recording as well.
Old puncher.
Yeah.
2 Jags.
Yeah. That was also quite weird, sort of hearing some of the quite revisionist history around him as well.
Yeah.
The other girl she'll probably bring up is Alex Salmond died, which I think is rather telling that we've gone multiple episodes now and haven't mentioned it once.
Opening a ketchup bottle for his mistress.
That was a bit...
It was such a Scottish death.
My mum texted me like 3 hours after we already discussed the death, and did you hear Alex Salmond died? I'm like, Christian the Angry Salmond account, I probably heard about it before his wife did. Like, I probably heard about it.
He texted me when it happened. That's how I found out that it occurred. But yeah, it was very weird that, although you say we discussed it to death, I mean, we kind of did. I mean, it was like a few hours.
What do you see?
That was so much of it that I was sort of saying exactly that it was quite odd. I was down at his the night before, and it was just quite funny. This was before Blue Sky had happened, and just talking about, it's quite weird how all that, Twitter's going to collapse and all that's just going to kind of fade off. And we were both like, that's fine. We're kind of okay with that. We're in good places now. So that's it. And then like the very next day, he tries to open a bottle of ketchup and keels over. And also, I don't want him to have suffered or anything like that. But I thought, again, with the same thing with John Prescott, going the way that the media kind of spun this, it was a very odd kind of response. I felt that the back end of his life was, generally speaking, not good. And I think we've already done a full episode on him, so we don't have to go into all of it all over again. But I thought the way that all of that was sort of, this man was in court over rape allegations, and the way that this is not kind of being spoken about at all now.
Over which, just to be fair, he was exonerated.
He was exonerated, but only on the basis that he had admitted to inappropriate behaviour and stuff like this. And that'll be RT thing as well. Art speaks for itself. I think it's obviously aged even worse given the current context.
Yeah, you all know my views on RT.
Although I will say a lot of the public response was along the veins of, like, that's sad for his family, but I didn't like him. Like, everyone was like, yeah, that's really sad. Like, he meant a lot to the independence movement at one point, but he's really fallen off a cliff. Every single message of what word am I looking for?
Condolence.
Yes, that is the word. So all the messages of condolence where they all had the word "but" in them. They're like, "Oh, that's really sad, but."
He would have loved
It's
that.
like,
He loved butts.
did love butts.
Did you like big butts?
Couldn't lie.
She's like, how sad. I think you compared it to the scene at the end of, or not at the end, but the scene in A Christmas Carol where Scrooge is with the ghost of Christmas future. And it's the men coming from his funeral being like, he was a prick anyway. And you're like, yeah, it's kind of like that. Like, wiping away the snow on the tombstone. It's like Alex Salmond.
I wasn't like reveling in any of this, but I noted that I thought that even like people that 100% would have worked with him and would have known him quite well, there was none of the stuff you would kind of want, as in like first and foremost a great friend, a good family man. I think his family kind of put out messages around that, but like everybody else, you say it was so tainted. And the mainstream media, the legacy media, as we should call it, not something fruitcakes. Their whole presentation was this like, powerhouse of Scottish politics. I just thought, we moved off John Prescott, but I just thought a lot of that kind of happened as well. The only thing I can say for Prescott is he did eventually U-turn on the Iraq war.
I think one of the things you have to bear in mind is that when you're in an organisation like that at the time, everybody's caught up in that kind of the activity of now and the intensity of what's going on. And it is very, very easy to get carried away and do the wrong thing. And it takes great strength of character to say no in the moment, but it takes a good deal of strength of character after the event to actually say, I was wrong, we made a mistake, that this was wrong. And a lot of people will simply never do that.
That was a guy that, okay, in the moment he did the wrong thing, but in the long term did the right thing by admitting he'd done the wrong thing, which to contrast with Salmond, it was a case of don't back down, double down. And I think that you can kind of see the again, similar spin by the media, I think, but, Prescott, I think, by coming forward and are admitting to go everything in a way that Salmond didn't at any point really say, yeah, taking a job in the Russian state broadcast, that was kind of a shite thing to do, and the way that all the stuff around Nicola Sturgeon, and again, we will eventually do a Nicola Sturgeon episode, but there's still an ongoing investigation into the SNP finances. When will it end? Who knows? We will get talking about it when.
Remember in the earlier on, we're talking about the process being the punishment.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what's happening. Yeah. However, I think one of the worst bits, I think, for her is going to be that now that he is dead, any possibility of reconciliation or anything like that is now out the window, because he's died saying there's this big grand conspiracy and yada yada yada, and that will just haunt her forever. And we're now in a situation, because the man is dead, any conspiracy theory can now hold water to a certain extent. So I think that there was maybe a hope that this Alba project or whatever, this element of the movement, was going to kind of fuck off. So every possibility, actually, now that he's died opening a bottle of ketchup, actually this might ignite a sort of new.
We'll see an image of Nicola Sturgeon behind Alex Salmond with a range like tightening.
Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting point. I was just looking up kind of key people that had died in the events of 2024.
I just can't believe the last time that I saw Alex Salmond speak publicly was on that Alpa Live broadcast on Twitter.
Was that the one where he looked like a supervillain from Despicable Me, lit from below by a torch like Jasper Carrot in the Mole cartoon?
Yeah, but with like all the technical issues, and that was really, really funny. That was the last time that I ever tuned into anything that he said or did. So that was quite neat.
I just feel very sorry for Tasmina at this difficult time that her meal ticket has disappeared.
Yeah. She'll land on her feet.
Maybe she'll join another party. She could join Reform. She's not been in them. Well, I do think it's quite funny while we're still on that kind of topic is the SNP announcing they're going to try and give a winter fuel payment next year and also undo the two-child benefit cap. And even if they're not, if there's the Westminster government tries to block them or stop them, it'll make them look so bad.
Yeah.
If they succeed, they'll do well. If they fail, it's going to work out well for them. I thought that was kind of strategically one of the only things that they've done well strategically in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Straight after the election, I said the best thing that the SNP can do for a while is just shut up. because Labour are going to sort of ride a little media wave, and then it won't take very long, and folk will come for them, and that's exactly what's happening. I mean, some of that's been brought on by their own terrible, terrible fucking PR.
And a
But-
lot sooner than I thought it was going.
A lot sooner. I mean, when I cannot, the winter fuel payment thing, I just cannot fucking get over it. It was just so stupid.
Is the winter fuel payment and the 2-child benefit cap. It's like, do you know who in this country has had it too good for too long? Old people and children. Are you all right? Like, yeah. It's just like, who's coming up? Is this like generated by Chat GPT? Because I don't even think AI, like, I don't think generative AI would come up with such bad ideas. Maybe they should start using Chat.
Although generative AI did recently tell somebody to kill themselves, didn't it?
Well, we've all said that at some point on podcasts.
I wonder how many child benefit payments or winter fuel payments you could make out of the money if you clawed it back off Doug Barrowman and Michelle Mon.
Is she still on a yacht somewhere in the sea? Do we know where Michelle is at this time? No. We got to get those dastardly SNP people though on their financial investigation, but that one bobbing about on the boat somewhere.
Putting Michelle Mon in the House of Lords, I still maintain, was basically political shit posting, wasn't it? I mean, it really was just. This is how we think we were going to make Michelle Mon a fucking lord.
I'm sure David Cameron's a very good reason. I'm not going to make any suggestions about why that. But he has shagged a pig, so I mean, like, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
The polls, I don't know if you've seen the latest ones. The S&P are actually, seems like they're doing quite well in the polls. If you ever want to believe polls anymore, they're basically bollocks. But
I don't believe them, but I enjoy them.
yeah, it
I
looks
like those stories.
they were showing Reform doing actually quite well relative to the other unionist parties, which is kind of funny. Like if they have a yet another party to split them with.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of hilarious. Just the more the merrier, just like keep piling on more and more unionist parties. But what I'm hoping for is a return of David Coburn. If he's still alive, I don't know what he's doing these days.
David. There used to be something that ran
Yeah, it's Coburn part, David Coburn.
David Coburn.
Yes.
It was absolutely splendid, and it was so good that people routinely missed and tagged it as the real David Coburn. And I remember asking you if it was you doing it, and you said it was not you. The fake account used to just routinely accuse everybody of being racist. Brilliant.
Oh, I remember when like the media would do that. They would sort of say like UKIP types are just a bit racist, and you were kind of mocked for that in a way. That's all become totally normalised now. They're just asking questions, everybody. They're just asking questions.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on Trump being found guilty on the 34 counts in his hush money trial? Do you want to do a bit of
What fucking difference does it make?
Zero, zilp, zitch, nada. The big goose egg.
Yeah, it's amazing that they had that great opportunity with so many of these different trials and they just absolutely fumbled the ball.
It's absolutely infuriating. When I was listening to one of the throwback episodes that you released, and there was me with great optimism that he was going to get done, and I listened to it and I just think, you stupid cunt, you fucking stupid cunt. You thought that the Democrats would do something. You fucking stupid cunt. I was so angry with myself listening to me with all this optimism about how people might have, like after COVID and all the rest of it. No, people have got short memories. No one cared. Eggs are expensive. We'll vote for a fascist. But what's really infuriating is that they should have been fucking arrested on the 20th of January, the second Biden had been inaugurated as president. They should have had his fucking fat ass in cuffs. He should have been arrested then and there. They should have prosecuted him quickly. This is entirely the fault of them trying to be fucking big and we'll go high. No, fucking arrest the cunt. It's too late now.
Yeah.
What's going to happen now?
Well, I mean, think about how we feel. We were laughing at you at the time. We disagreed with you at the time. So maybe you are wrong about prawn cocktail crisps. Did you ever consider
I have set the probability to 0 of me being wrong about her own cocktail crisps, but I do appreciate that this is a subjective view.
Oh, you
Horrible.
I think there's nothing wrong with being optimistic.
I really did think that might be a proper pivotal point for them to actually look at themselves. But now I give up. I have no hope for them of anything good happening. I've got much more hope of something good happening from someone who's shooting a CEO.
Luigi for president.
I was saying before about if you just keep using things like they're Nazis, just start small, baby steps. Just say he's a criminal. Just say he's the first US president ever to be convicted on a criminal charge, because actually that's enough. You don't need more than that. Anyway, Julian Assange was freed from prison on June the 24th. Fan of Julian Assange, aren't you, Tucker? No, you're not. I know very well.
No, I'm not.
But
This is one of these things that drives me absolutely fucking mental, is that there's still a lot of people who frankly ought to know better who will say nice things about Julian Assange. He's a fucking Russian asset. He always has been. He's a fucking twat. He did all the things he's accused of in fucking Sweden. He's an absolute prick. And you could have fucking left him in jail as far as I care.
And he's too blonde.
there's a lot of stuff that's happening all over the world.
Shall we talk about Assad? I consider myself reasonably well informed about world affairs. I try and be reasonably well informed. How is it that I've only discovered this week that Syria was a fucking narco state? I had not known this at all. And I just think this is not something that's been widely reported. I think, have I just missed this? But I don't think so. The entire Assad regime was based upon them making a kind of amphetamine. It seems like it's a sort of soft amphetamine that kind of leaves you feeling quite fluffy. I think it's equivalent to cocaine in some ways. It's quite easy to use and it has less harmful side effects than like hard amphetamines and methamphetamines. But it's called Captagon, which was a brand name. And they'd been manufacturing this and basically making kind of this like hillbilly amphetamine for the entire Middle East. It's a huge fucking thing in the Middle East. It's just not been reported on at all. But this was the source of their wealth, and this is why so many people fucking tolerated him. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not that they've been actually selling Captagon to the Russians, because the Russians are definitely using a lot of fucking amphetamines to uppers to stay. So it will be really, really interesting. I mean, the Russian troops are hauling out of Syria in much the same way that they did out of Afghanistan.
They're preoccupied, aren't they?
They're a wee bit preoccupied, but yeah. So, the coverage of them of journalists and Syrian people getting to finally go into the jails. I don't think we've seen anything like this in our lifetime in terms of the horrors of what are being discovered and discussed, and there'll be more to come. There seem to have been children that were born underground in these facilities who've just never seen daylight. There are people who've lost the power of speech, lost all their memories, they've just been tortured to the point that they've lost their minds. There's families flooding the prisons, and there's hundreds of people claiming every prisoner as their family, and they have not got the ability to quickly do genetic testing and work out who's who. I'll indulge my optimism one fucking last time. I would like to think that we don't fuck this one up the way we fuck these things up routinely. Let's fucking, I know, I can hear myself saying it. Let's not fuck this one up. Let's not fuck this up the way we fucked up the downfall of the Soviet Union.
This is going to sound very Star Wars, but I can't think of any other way to word it without being openly more political than I would like to be. But the leader of the rebel forces,
Rebel Alliance,
has clearly had some media training. Have you seen him speak?
Yeah.
He's
and the Ukrainians have been on the ground in Syria apparently, because it was definitely in their interest to get the Russians out of their warm water port.
Yeah.
So is he just like basically a Turkish plant?
No. He has been. He was a radical kind of
worked with.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
But they're not basically funded by
I think said in recent interviews that ISIS were too fundamentalist, and we're not working in the interest of the people, which is what he wants. So he broke away from them because they had fundamental disagreements in philosophy. And people, you've been on record saying all these extremely fundamentalist things in the past. It's like, well, yeah, everybody grows up. He's like, I was young and stupid and I believed certain things.
Everyone's a radical terrorist in their
Exactly.
20s.
He's a radical terrorist. He's like, I've grown up, I've changed my beliefs. He's basically saying, like, everybody who joins us in fights, even if they're not Muslim, they're absolutely fine to practice their beliefs. This is going to be a free country for everybody. We want women to have rights. We want all this. So he's not speaking the way that most fundamentalist leaders speak.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's being genuine in what he's saying, most fundamentalist leaders of terrorist cells do not speak that way. They don't appeal to the media. They don't try to mask their beliefs. They don't politic. This guy's clearly he's gone some kind of media.
Let's work on the assumption that he's telling the truth, that he was basically young and a gobshite. He's grown up a little bit. He sees the opportunity to actually lead Syria properly, and he's understood that whatever his personal beliefs might be, he needs to be more palatable to everybody. In the short term, he'll do.
It sounds a lot like George Bush promising he wouldn't do any regime changes nor police the world.
So maybe one day this guy will also be contributing to the world by making beautiful art.
Painting himself in the bath.
It's brilliant seeing all these statues getting torn down. I mean, it really warms my heart to see these.
I do a good statue toppling.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And I also enjoyed how much the Russians had really crowed about the Americans getting chucked out of Afghanistan when they were leaving. They thought that was really funny and hilarious, and now they're like, run away!
Running away and buckeringle. And chicken you not.
2025, will Putin be alive this time next year?
There's a strong argument that Putin's not alive now.
Weekend at Bernie's. It's just like Weekend at Vlad.
I was for about the umpteenth fucking time I was watching Death of Stalin, and when there's a scene where they're shooting all the doppelgangers, all the body doubles. But yeah, there's there are folk that think he might already be dead because he was definitely poorly with something, and it's a combination of AI and
the last video I saw of Putin, you know how usually he's like dead fidgety.
Yeah,
his hands didn't move. It's like they'd injected him or something, so it's just his arms wouldn't move.
That was the video where even folk that are normally reasonably rational were going, there's something not right there, and that might in fact be a deep fake. That it's
they're very convincing.
But I mean, you would assume that folk would have the tech to be able to.
Oh yeah, I mean, they were deep faking Obama back when Obama was in the presidency, and it looked really good until they pulled back and revealed that it was Jordan Peele doing his Obama impression, and he just like begged him all over it. So they can now perfectly replicate the voice, which is why Scarlett Johansson had to take Oprah out of court.
Yeah, because they wanted her to voice it. She said no, so they just did it anyway.
Yeah, stole her voice.
Yeah. Gonna do it anyway. Yeah.
I wonder if it is actually as convincing as we think it is, or if in 10 years we'll look back at these videos and go, oh, it's so obvious. I remember the first time that I watched Deep Blue Sea, the film about the shark, Samuel L. Jackson, and who else is in it? I can't remember, but I watched it when I was like 11 or 12, and I was like, oh my God, how did they train a shark to do those scenes? And then I rewatched it like 5 years ago, and I remember this looked really good. When I say it was worse than PS1 level graphics, this was just a cartoon shark like being inserted like Space Jam style, and I thought it looked real at the time.
It's funny though, isn't it? Like how quickly your eye attunes to something, but how well some things stand up as well. It depends on how well it's being done. Like it's funny, like model making stunts often. There's some little bit of it that somehow you can see that it's a small thing, not a big thing.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is that gives it away, but something gives it away. But nonetheless, they can stand up better than a lot of the CGI. One of my favourite stories about this is that Steven Spielberg saw Gladiator and asked Ridley Scott how he'd managed to get the actors to stand that close to the lions. Because he didn't.
Well, did Ridley Scott ask him how he managed to tame the dinosaurs that he had in Jurassic Park?
Yeah. Well, I think actually that was it. It was CGI and it was beyond something, but it looked so good at the time. It doesn't. You look at it now and you can sort of see that it's.
I still like Ray Harryhausen stuff, all the
it's
stop
great.
motion things. And there was that film in like early days of cinema where like a train comes towards the screen. Apparently, folk in the cinema were like diving to the side because they thought it was going to come right at them. So it's like your perception of things really changes with the technology. But yeah, it's getting to the point now I can now be convinced when I see something and it sounds right and it looks right and I wouldn't know the difference of if it's real or not.
Yeah,
So
I'm at the point now where I basically double check everything.
Yeah, I just don't believe anything anymore.
There have been things that I've seen that have turned out to be real, but I'm like, that's AI generated, and then I go and check, I'm like, oh fuck, it's not.
I know. Well, this is not to do with the visual thing, but just you so routinely have to go and check a story to make sure that it's not some bullshit. That the other month when The Onion won the auction for InfoWars, and I was like, that's a spoof.
Well, yeah, it's that one. It was an onion.
I thought it was an onion piece. Yeah. I subscribe. I get a print version of The Onion, and I'm going to keep them all. I'm going to keep every single one of them for as long as it lasts. But The Onion's gotten good again.
Yeah,
getting framed.
Warner Brothers are putting Sesame Street up for sale, so I'm just going to say there's a chance for The Onion to do another really funny thing.
I want Big Bird to call Donald Trump a dick. Let's do it.
Elon Musk will probably buy them and turn like Big Bird's transphobic or something.
The woke mind virus.
How many immigrants is too many immigrants?
What?
Hey,
Bert. Oh, I'm going to stop.
It's funny, like, up until you mentioned them, I had never fucking heard of the Cybertruck somehow, possibly because I'm just never interested in cars, because I don't drive.
I hadn't heard of them until they said, it's amazing, you can chuck a brick at it and the window won't break. And then they chucked a brick at it.
And the window won't break.
Bro, could I buy that? You can't escape that level of PR.
And now all I seem to see everywhere I look, because this is the way algorithms work, is people reporting terrible fucking incidents with their Cybertrucks being utter shit.
As they explode on the regular. I remember doing the episode about Elon. I was quite surprised that you hadn't kept up with the exploding Cybertruck discourse.
Just normal Teslas explode as well.
It's a huge problem with lithium batteries is that if there's any breach of the battery and air gets in. I mean, I don't know if you remember from your sort of chemistry ordinaries, like they'd show you like dropping little reactive metals into bowls of water. They're quite fizzy.
For a bit like
Bernie.
they have accounted for this, and so there is a safety mechanism built into Tesla cars that when it catches on fire, the doors all auto lock, so there's nobody left to sue them at the end of it. That's true.
Is that true?
Yeah, they might have fixed it now, but this was certainly a feature, not a bug of the car when it was first launched. They've got to have fixed it.
And then when your fire brigade turn up, they try and smash through your windows, which are reinforced.
I love the fact that there's a roaring trade in stickers for Tesla owners saying, like, basically, I bought it before we knew he was mental. Because Tesla owners are now huge. Like, a lot of them bought a Tesla because they're environmentally concerned.
Yeah.
Probably,
That's cringe now.
Yeah, massively cringe.
Elon Musk has made so much money since Trump won the election. He's not going anywhere.
A lot of that is on the books of Tesla. If Tesla's share price tanks, then
this is one of the reasons why they're probably arguing for tariffs on Chinese imports, because Chinese are making EVs for like 5 to 10 grand. I mean, it's still a problem. We have an electric van at work, and it's absolutely brilliant. And we've had it a few years now, so the range is not as good as your electric car. But it did cost a lot of money. We've saved a fortune in fuel costs and saved a fortune in emissions as well. But they're not cheap, and they're just out of the range of the people that need them. And the Chinese are knocking them out for sort of 5 to 10 grand, because all the value really is in the metals in the battery. The engines are much simpler.
It's a kind of cynical thing, isn't it? Like the country that's polluting the planet the most, making the electric cars so we hit our climate change targets, even though the climate doesn't work with borders.
Once again, I'm forced to defend the indefensible, but for the sake of balance, China is actually putting in more solar power and this, that, and the other than any other nation alive. They're just one of the biggest nations in the world population-wise, therefore their emissions are high because there are so many of them. Per individual, their emissions are not the highest in the world, and they are producing more clean energy and more clean vehicles than anybody else. They are also a bunch of fucking cunts. But just for balance, if you look at it per capita, they are not the highest.
The old John Cena apology where I'm going to do it in like the native language because I've said something offensive. But also, I want to have a Hollywood career now. You can't piss off the Chinese if you want to have a Hollywood.
Oh yeah, John Cena had to apologise because he referred to Taiwan as a country and the Chinese were not happy about it.
Taiwan is in fact a country.
Yeah, no, but he had to apologise to China because he obviously was in all those Marvel films. No, DC?
Yeah, Warner Brothers.
What? I found them, yeah. He apologised in perfect fluent Mandarin.
Where else could we go with 2025?
Well, one prediction we could come up with is when Trump falls out with Elon Musk.
Oh, I know how long. I can't wait for the Dominic Cummings with a box on Downing Street moment.
I reckon before he even takes office. I think it's already, the train's already coming off the track. Apparently he hasn't left.
No, he's driving everybody fucking nuts, apparently, because he's really
just like
irritating.
hyperactive kids.
Yeah. The unusual one's okay.
He wants to be liked so much, and he is on a lot of pet as well. He's in a constant.
Imagine being so dislikable that Donald fucking Trump, like a guy that's managed to sustain like a multi-decade long friendship with Vince McMahon, like this guy, this fucking Elon lad, get the fuck out of my house. Like that must be a next level bit of kid. Like a level of frick we can't even conceive, we can't even comprehend it. It's like another fucking.
It is that problem of you've got two massive kind of alpha egos, if you know what I mean. They can't coexist. It's like two black holes. One of them will start trying to eat the other. There's this beautiful photograph of two black holes close to each other, and one's just like sucking black from the other. And this was the thing with Boris and Dominic Cummings. Both of them think they're in charge. Eventually, the one that actually is in charge will pull rank, and the other one will take umbrage, and it will all fall apart.
And then Elon will take exactly what Cummings did, and then spend the next how many years just ragging on Trump.
How he never liked him anyway.
Exactly.
A lot of Elon Musk supporters, you know the type.
I do.
As soon as Trump won, they were like, "Oh, Elon is actually the shadow president. He is the brains behind the operation. He'll be pulling the strings." And some people started to laugh at them, and I was like, whoa, don't.
Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
Keep saying that, amplify that, say it as loud as fucking possible, because if that gets back to Trump, he will not be having any of it.
Well, he's already given him a fake job. This Department of Government Efficiency, which is a thing that doesn't exist.
Him and Vivek.
It's you know what, the morning that was announced, I saw I saw an article about it, and I posted something about it, and somebody came right back with, "Oh my god, not that acronym," and I hadn't spotted it. Right, I hadn't actually spotted it, and I looked at it and I went, "Oh, you dirty cunt! You haven't. You fucking have. You fucking called it doggy. You fucking child."
It's the equivalent of when a new guy starts and you send them for a long stand in the warehouse, or to go and get a bucket of steam.
Use the battery of the windsock.
Yeah, because you go and get some spotted paint.
Cause I knew it was coming because Elon Musk had said like months before the election that he was going to do this, and I think it was somebody else on Twitter suggested that be the acronym, and he was like, "Oh, ha ha ha, fantastic."
That was like a deep fake. That
I need you to do that voice more often.
Really don't want. So yeah, he has taken that, and I knew it was coming. So then when it was actually announced, fucking children. But yeah, so it's Elon and Vivek, two of the least charismatic, most unlikable men in the history of America.
And that's among tech bros as well. Let's just consider the source material of the pool.
Did you see Peter Thiel on Piers Morgan? I do not watch Piers Morgan, but someone shared a clip of an interview that he did with him.
Oh, that was wild.
Oh my goodness. So I've seen Peter Thiel speak, but only really in his own comfort zone when he's been doing a pre-prepared speech. And he's obviously insane. And a sort of, you can see why people listen to him. Not clever people, but you can see why people listen to him. Whereas this interview that he did with Piers Morgan, he was being asked the softest softballs. I'm not going to do an impression of the answers. I don't think I possibly could without losing most of our listeners. It was the most painful fucking thing I've ever heard. I'm going to have to send you the link.
Yeah,
Honestly, it was awful. But yeah, it was like no thoughts, head empty. I'm like, oh, this is your God? I think that Elon watched How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and has been following that playbook.
I think it'll be slightly longer because Elon will have to kind of go back to work at some point.
He doesn't work. What do you mean?
No, I know. But you know what I mean. Trump will get inaugurated and he won't be able to go to the White House. He won't be able to go and live in the White House kind of thing. So there'll be a sort of slight separation and absence makes the heart grow a little bit fonder. He's not like he's working in the office there every day, but there will be some cataclysmic thing. So I'm going to say the summer.
Did you see all of the Republican commentators when the DOGE department was founded? DOGE. When this was founded, they were going, I mean, this actually might be fantastic because if you think about it, Elon Musk bought Twitter and fired 80% of the workforce.
How'd that work?
And then, well, yeah, they were like, and it's just as good as ever. Like, everybody has left Twitter. Nobody is on Twitter anymore. It's not in the top 20 of free apps on the App Store. Nobody's on. Everyone left. People can't just leave the US. Some of the things that he's already mentioned, proposed, everybody has come back with being like, have you thought about this really obvious thing? No, didn't think so, because he never does. He's so stupid.
I mean, I'm in that group of people that you correctly analysed have, had very little knowledge about him. And therefore it was Tesla, SpaceX, this is, Starlink, this is all quite cool. Didn't really know a great deal about him. And as I say, like the first bell in my head was the pedo guy thing, because it's just like, that's a bit strange. What a strange way for a clever guy like that to behave. And then it was only when you went through all of it, I'm like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Because I'm not routinely kind of following the tech bro guys because, well, only they are.
It still has an awful lot of power that every time one of those rockets does like a wee backflip and lands in its leg.
It's cool as
wow. Like it really is like his sort of distracting the entire world to the fact.
But just to be absolutely clear, he's not actually designing those. These proper engineers are.
He has one patent. If I'm not mistaken, he has one patent in his name, and it was the design for a seatbelt buckle that is not used because it didn't really work. I think that's it. I'll double check this. So you might edit that out because that might be wrong. He definitely has like a patent, but it's for a useless thing that's not real.
It's not actually used.
He must invite his mum on to clarify and on.
That's been quite a feature, hasn't it? The mums of assholes having to go on TV to say that their sons are good boys.
That's bad.
Not just him as well. Is it Pete Hegseth, the rapey head of the armed forces that they're bringing in? His mum had to go on as well to do the "my Nick's a good boy" routine.
Glad you clarified head of the armed forces, because rape is quite a sort of, it could apply to quite a few of them from some of these appointments. They're all kind of.
What have you all got in common?
Yeah.
Bit rapey.
Bit sex offendery, bit paedophilic actually at times as well.
So the next appointment, P. Diddy.
Do you remember when we did the J.K. Rowling episode and we were saying, like, what will it take? And she's now quite excluded from mainstream conversation, if you know what I mean.
Right, called it. I mean, I think that the discussion was basically, it was Laura, that said that really once Twitter goes, there's nowhere else for her to go. Just that's kind of all she has left. So I know the arts before, I think is at Amazon, I think, are doing some sort of Harry Potter something.
Well, they're going to cast a black guy as Snape, so that's all her following will not watch it. It's a Venn diagram of people who are really angry about the casting of a black guy as Snape, and the people who follow her because of her transphobia is a circle.
So you're saying,
oh well, it's just that point that she'll do something that'll be just too much for ordinary people, and I think so Imran. What's
Armani
Khalif, the boxer, yeah. Where just a lot of ordinary people will go, what the fuck is the matter with you?
She did it again with another best female athlete a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Another one.
It's great that loads of journalistic organisations are now walking away from Twitter. I mean, The Guardian has, and I think I can't remember the exact name, but it's a sort of an international investigative reporters organisation has moved away. There's like hundreds of journalists have basically like not putting their stuff out there.
The only comfort I have at all about this is how incompetent the Trump types are. We still haven't crossed into the danger zone, which is evil and competent. You know, I think that there's been a lot of comparisons with like Trump types and Nazis, but I hate to say it, but to be fair to the Nazis, they actually were quite competent, quite successful.
Is it just too much to ask for to have somebody who's not evil and is competent?
Yes, well
I think obviously populism is the flavour of the month. We're all very into populism. Can we perchance, perhaps to dream, have a little bit of left-wing populism in this country, in the US? Can we have a left-wing populist movement at all? Or is it just right-wing populism all the way down? Is that what we are doomed to? Right-wing populism and left-wing shitposting on X, formerly Twitter.
Tried to make sexy socialism happen, Laura, and it was booed away. It's not allowed, not in this damn country.